Okay, so welcome to the part number 2 on the June series. And on this one, we need to talk about the remaining parts. The first part was a little bit too long because, we did a lot. We talk about the oscillators, the LFOs, the filters, and the envelopes. So on this one, we will talk about the remaining parts, not the advanced. The advanced is going to be the next one. So, okay, so what is going to happen with the arpeggio? So the arpeggio is very simple. Right now, I'm going to start on a default patch right here. And I'm going to go and say on. And as soon as I play something, notice that something is happening. We can see it on the spectrum right here at the bottom. But, it's just, we don't hear anything. And it's because, of course, the envelope, it's too long that we don't get, that separation between notes. So it's doing the arpeggio, and this is what it does. Now, of course, what you can decide is you can sync to the Daw Tempo, just like we do with the LFO. So, of course, you can sync it, and if you want to go slower, you go slower or faster. And of course, you can go manually in hertz. Okay, so that's fine. So now, and I'm going to do a little bit of filtering just right here. So we don't hear, it's a little bit less annoying. So what we can do, of course, with an arpeggio is just to play chords and get an arpeggio. That's why it's called arpeggio. This one is just not an arpeggio. So this means that if I play a chord, it's going to do the arpeggio for us. So right now, let me just see the keyboard is just hidden. I'm playing a C chord. Right, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if we play a chord, it's going to go through that chord. It will recognize each key we are pressing and doing the arpeggio. And the way it plays the arpeggio is by using the modes, which is up, then we get up and then down. And of course up, it means that if I do a C chord, it will start from C and then go to the next one and then go to the next one and start over. I'm going to go slower so we can get something easier to hear. Right. Of course, up and down, it means that it's going to go up, and as soon as it finish, going up, it's going to go down. It's not, restarting the cycle all over again. Again, we can really hear how that works. So then, of course, you get the down, and down is going to be the opposite, but just going to go down and down. So it starts from the last key and then, goes to the first one. Pretty simple. Now then I'm going to go to the up because it's, the easiest one. And then you have the range. So this what it means is that, of course, when we do an arpeggio, what it's doing behind the scenes is just recognizing the chords or the keys that you're playing or the chord that you're playing. And it's just moving through the different keys. And as soon as it's finished playing the last key, it's going to start over. So it's a loop, right? It's always a loop. Now the range, it means that if it's on 1, it will only play the notes that you're playing on the octave that you're playing. But if I go to 2, it means that first is going to play the octave that you're playing, and the second loop, the second time is going to go, or the second iteration, let's say, is going to go to the next octave and do the same thing that you're playing, but 1 octave up. And we can again really hear this. Yeah, so you can do that. So of course, I'm going to go and do number 3, and this is going to go 3 octaves up, and I'm playing a C major. Or if you do a C7. And notice it's going all the way up, 3 octaves up, or maybe 2 octaves from the octave that you're playing. So it's covering 3 octaves. Right, so pretty simple, right? Now the arpeggio on this synth, it's not super complex. It's just a very simple arpeggio. But of course, you can make it better with the hold and the chord. So the hold, notice that every time to do an arpeggio, I need to press and kind of hold something. I need to press and hold. So with this one, what it will do, it will hold the keys as soon as you press them. So if I do a C chord and release the keys, I'm not playing anything. Notice that in the keyboard, I'm not playing anything. It's just will hold the chord. Pretty simple to understand. And as soon as I add notes, it's going to kind of change what you're doing, right? It's going to recognize that new key that you're playing. And if you're playing 1 key, it's going to play 1 key. But if I do a new chord, it's going to go through that chord. Right. So again, just pretty simple stuff. Let's go a little bit faster. Right, pretty simple. Now, of course, if I go and turn it off, of course, it's going to kill the sound. It's going to kill the halt. Now, there's one more thing to this one that it's very useful, which is going to be how, you know, the chord works. Because right now, every time that we want to do something, we need to do the chord ourselves. So this one, the chord, you're going to need to set, you know, to set it to on first. But then the trick right here is that you need to go to the select mode. Now, the select, what it will, you know, give you is the ability of pressing one single key and it will just do a chord for you. So if I do an octave and press a C, it's going to do that arpeggio. Of course, we need to be on, you know, with the arpeggio. And then it's going to, if I press a C, it's going to do this C and then the C one octave above, below, or above in this case. Now, of course, it's very dumb, but we can do fifth if you want. And it's going to go and do an arpeggio with all of this. We can do a suspended, and I'm just playing one single key, the C key. Let's say I want to make an arpeggio with a minor chord, so. And if I want to change, I'm changing to D minor. Or F minor. And I'm just pressing one single key. And this is a very easy way to get an arpeggio, just a nice sounding arpeggio with any given chord. Now, the cool thing about this is that let's say I want to, you know, do a minor chord. But I don't want to play it like this. What I want to do is to go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, skip the 2, and just do the 3, right? So we're going to go and press a key. And notice that it's just not doing this key now. But every time we change something right here, maybe just doing this, still a minor chord, is going to custom mode. And this is because we are changing whatever rule we get by default right here. And now right here, you can go crazy. You can just, you know, maybe do something like this, and it's just going to go and do it for you. So you can create whatever arpeggio you wish. Right? So it's very useful. It's just one of those, you know, very useful things that you get with this type of plugins. And it's something that you get with almost, I wouldn't say all the Arturia plugins, but you get it in most, which is something very useful. Okay, so I'm going to start with the default patch right now, and I'm going to go to the Unison section. Now, maybe you don't know what Unison means, so let me just tell you what it means. So what it means is that whenever you play a key, the synth by default has many voices. So it will assign a number, you know, a number of voices that depends on the synth, and it will stack the voices on top of each other. Now, there is one rule that you need to know before, you know, we start with the Unison thing. And I'm going to chop a little bit of the frequency. So right now we get the sound. Okay, so that's cool. That's the sound. So whenever you have a sound source, like a sound, whatever sound, it doesn't matter if it's synth or whatever sound, and then you just could copy and you kind of duplicate the same sound, and you maybe put it on the same DAW, on the same place, and then the sounds are the same. You have two sounds that sound exactly the same. You're not going to get a better sound. You're just going to get louder. That's how sound works. If the two sources are completely the same, and I'm talking about exactly the same, the sound goes louder. You just get more volume. But if the second sound, let's say you make this copy, this duplicate of whatever sound, and you just change it a little bit, maybe you detune it, maybe you add a little bit of effects or something like that, what it will do, it will make a combination of the copy and the original, and you're going to get a richer sound, which it means, richer means more harmonics, right? It's a bit more complex sound. So right now, whenever we are not using a unison, we are just using polyphonic. So if I play 3 keys, I get one voice for each. Now, it depends on the synth how many voices, you know, it's going to play. But in the case of unison, notice I'm going to enable this. And right here, it says unison 3. And it means that each key will have 3 voices because it's going to stack whatever key you play is going to grab some voices and it will play the same sound, but it will stack the voice of, you know, on top of each other. So if I'm playing, and I'm going to go to the detune right here, just to show you this, I'm going to go right there at the bottom. So I'm going to go and play the C with the mouse, right? Notice that we get a sound. If I go off Unison, we get a different sound, right? And it's because now what it's doing is whenever we play a key, it's stacking 3 voices on top of each other. So you're kind of getting a copy of this 3 keys that you're playing. Now, since the voices on an analog synth are a little bit detuned, a little bit different, you don't get a super loud sound. You just get a richer sound with more harmonics because the voices are a little bit different from each other. This is an emulation of a synth, so that's what you get. You don't get a lot louder. You just get a much more complex sound than just going right here. So notice that this is very dull, and this sounds a little bit more bigger, kind of complex. And notice that it gives us, we can hear that hollow sound. And it's because, again, the voices are stacked on top of each other, and we are playing the same thing, so some frequencies are being cancelled because the sound is the same. So now if I go to the detune, what it will do, it will just detune whatever voices we are stacking, and now we're going to start getting a combination of the original key that you're playing, in the original voice, and then the other voices are going to be a little bit detuned, so you're going to get a bigger sound because the voices are a little bit different. And as you go up on this value, you're getting into that V-hive territory because the voices are, you know, very different, and you get a complex sound. And again, this is the keyword for this one is rich sound. Now you can do up to 6 voices with this one. Whoa. All right, let me just go right here. There we go. 6 voices. We're detuning a lot and we get a super big sound. And I'm just playing a single key. Now, usually when you go to Unison, you do Unison in a synth. You're going to be only be able to do this Unison on a mono synth, or the synth is going to be turned into mono. So you can only play 1 key at a time. With this plugin, since it has a lot of voices, you can do Unison on a chord. So you get a lot of voices per chord, per key. Let me just go a little bit down on this one. It's just too bright. So notice that the sound goes really big. And if I do this without Unison, it just sounds different. Now, I want to say it sounds better because it depends on the sound that you're building. Because maybe this is just too big, right? So right, so that's what Unison means. So okay, so let's talk about the other thing. I'm gonna go back to here. And and one more thing, if you want to know how many voices you're using or which mode that you're using, whenever you go to the advanced right here, it will tell you right here what you're using, how many polyphony, how many voices you can use with the synth, with the plugin. You can do up to 36 voices, and you can turn this into mono, which means 1 single key at a time. If I do a chord, not gonna happen, right? We're just gonna get 1 single key. Okay, so for now, I'm just gonna go and let's just go back to default. Why not? All right. So let me show you how the Portamento works. So the Portamento is just a slide. If I go and do something like this right here, I'm gonna go and play something, and then play something new, and it will slide or glide from that note. So that's what it does. I'm gonna chop a little bit of the frequencies right here. There we go. Right, so that's the glide control. Of course, you can go crazy and notice the time. This is in time, in milliseconds. So it will take a long time, let's say 5 seconds to get from one point to the next one. Right, so that, that's what this does. And I believe that, this is something I just don't need to expand. I'm gonna go and talk about this one. This one is very important. So notice that you get the vendor and you get the Lfo Mod. So the vendor is the pitch wheel, right? So notice that, and this is very particular to this unit, to this hardware. You can do a pitch bend of the DCO, which is the the frequency of the oscillator, which is the pitch. I can go 3 octaves, maybe a full octave. So when I play something, and I'm gonna go and turn off the Portamento, go down or up by an octave. But you can also do the VCF. So you can go and modulate the filter with this one. So if I go right here and play something, notice that we get almost no frequencies. And maybe if I wanted to do maybe not the pitch and just modulate the filter, I'm gonna go all the way. Notice that we can do the filter. All right, so it's just something, you know, not very common to all synthesizers that you get from the pitch, you know, control, the pitch bend, the control to the filter and the pitch, which is very weird. All right, so of course you can do this with the pitch wheel, the vendor, in this case vendor, and then you have the Lfo Mod. So as soon as I play something, and if I turn it up, nothing happens. And it's because, of course, you need to enable something right here. So I'm gonna go and do the DCO. So again, this is the pitch, and I'm gonna go all the way up. As soon as I do so, and go up, we're starting to, you know, do a modulation of the pitch. And notice on the frequency spectrum that it's just moving. And this one is going to listen to the default LFO that you have right here. So if I start changing the values, you know, it changes. Right. So same thing with the VCF is going to, you know, apply the whatever LFO to the filter. All right. Let's say I want to make a chord, and you get that magic. All right, so let's do a little bit of you know, a little bit of this. I'm gonna do a unison. Why not? I'm gonna detune the voices a little bit more. I'm gonna do a little bit of, you know, maybe detuning on the pitch. Add a little bit of subs, and I'm gonna do a chorus. I'm gonna go and do a little bit of reverb, and what you get is just magic right away. And notice how little we are doing. Just with the BCF, you know? Gonna go down, and you don't get the same. It's just not the same. So this one changes everything from a single control. Right. So that's it. You know, you can really change the sound just using this control. So I'm gonna go back to default, and I'm gonna show you the last controls that we are gonna be learning on this one, and then we're gonna need to talk about this one, but it's very, very simple. So we have the chorus control. Right now we are back to default. I'm gonna disable this and disable the mod. So the chorus, of course, whenever it's off, it's off. Now the first one is just a chorus. But this is one of the most iconic choruses of, you know, all history of synthesizers. Right. Now the one is going to give you a chorus, very mild. Then the second one is going to be a bit more aggressive. Okay, and that's it. It's just a chorus. Now, of course, maybe you're thinking, all right, so if one is, you know, the mode one, which is not super intense, the second one is still just a little bit more intense. It means that if I go and do, you know, both at the same time, I'm going to get more width, more chorus, more everything. Well, no, that's not what you get. What you're going to get is kind of a no width, but you get a vibrato. Notice the spectrum right here at the bottom, how it's moving. So you get, yeah, you get a vibrato pretty much. Or maybe tremolo, let's say. It's just kind of a, you know, going up and down. All right, so yeah, of course, if you want to make it big, just use one or the other one, all right? So then you have the tune control, and this one, what it will do, it will just detune just by a little bit or just a little bit. Notice that on some synths, you can go maybe 12 octaves, you know, right from here. But this is not what this does. It's just going and detune it just a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. That's it. And we can see it on the spectrum that it's not doing a lot. All right. So then, of course, you get the volume. I feel like I don't need to explain this. And since we already talked about the voices and all the voices that you can do, Remember, this synth is an emulation of an original kind of a analog, vintagey kind of a synthesizer. So the voices that you get are going to be a little bit detuned. And since whenever you have a very old school analog synthesizers, or actually any analog, the voices will degrade as the time goes by, and you will need to do a kind of a maintenance on the synth. That's again how it works. Now with modern synths, you don't need to do a lot of that. With old synths, you really need to do that, and they break the whole time. That's the part that sucks of owning very old synths. Now this one, what they give us is the voice calibration, and notice it says good, average, and poor. So let's say that you have a synth, right? You just bought it, and you make a calibration of the voices. So the voices are just gonna sound spot on. But maybe the calibration was not so good, so you're gonna get a bit more kind of a difference. So let me just maybe go here and do some unison because we get more voices, and the voices are gonna be less calibrated. And then on poor, you're gonna get a lot of more variation on the different voices. That's what this means. Okay, so let me just show you something else. And maybe this is not something that makes or breaks the sound, but it's something that you maybe check it out. Now notice it says coarse noise. I'm gonna go and turn on the coarse, and I'm not playing anything. I'm not even gonna do a DCO right here. Notice on the spectrum that you see something going up and down, right? On the 9K frequency, that's the peak. And this is because the default chorus, the original chorus, has a noise. Yeah, it just gives you some noise. And maybe if you're using this plugin, or maybe you're making a track, and then you're just compressing everything, this noise will go up. So you're going to start hearing the noise. And maybe if you don't know what it is, you're going to start, going crazy, just searching all the tracks, finding where the F is the noise. So this is the one. You just need to go right here, and by clicking this, it's going to disable the noise. So you're just going to get rid of that, part of this analog synth, which is something cool, because sometimes the noise, it's very annoying on some tracks. And if you're doing a lot of compression, maybe the noise, it's something that you don't want. So in this case, it's a nice option. It's a very usable option that you get. All right, so we're done on this section. Notice that this one was not as long as the other one. So we're going to go and talk about the advanced control. And then again, this one is going to be very simple because it's just, you don't get a lot. So let's go to the next video. It's going to be the part number 3. I'm going to be releasing one every single day because I cannot do all at the same time because people get upset. I don't know why, but yeah, that's how it works on YouTube. So I'm going to release the part 3 tomorrow.